Everyone knows that putting money aside in savings is really important. But then what? Should you keep your savings locked in a CD for a higher rate or keep them liquid in a money market? Can your checking account help you save too? Or is it about creating the right combination? We believe real banking is a conversation. Let's talk about the savings options that are right for you. Learn more at sandyspringbank.com. Member FDIC.
Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and for almost a decade, I have been a transformation coach and therapist. This podcast is all about lifting the veil of consciousness and awakening to the truth. It is also about helping you to raise the bar in all areas of your life and relationships by starting with you. If you're ready to take back your personal power and reclaim your life, you have come to the right place. I'm so glad that you're here, so let's get started with today's episode. I wanted to chat about this phase that happens when women are exiting these relationships. So it's typically that very last quarter of the 4 phases that I've talked about around the readiness toward leaving one of these relationships with narcissistic abuse, manipulation, gaslighting. It's just absolute crazy making, really. It's that that 11th hour where they are moving through the exit strategy. We are working together to move through the exit strategy so that they are in a place they can get out, but doing it strategically and safely. That's the main goal. What I help women with one-to-one. I do have a couple of spots open for one-to-one. I just finished up with a couple of ladies, so that opens up a couple more spaces. I don't work with very many women at a certain time. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave the link in the show notes for more info on how you can apply. I also have the group coaching program as well. So this is what we focus on, is getting you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually aligned. And this doesn't mean you're going to feel perfect. It doesn't mean you're not going to be exhausted. It doesn't mean that it's going to erase all fear, doubt, and anxiety. The idea is that despite all of that, despite not feeling ready, you're still taking steps. You may be taking them slowly. You go through a phase where you're really just hammering it out and getting shit done. And then you might go through another little phase where you're exhausted and questioning again. And it's this back and forth push and pull thing internally, this inner battle that we can face. And I really endeavor to help women to move through that. It's moving through it. It's not pretending it's not there. It's not erasing it. It's not feeling 100% ready and motivated and happy and joyful and woman power. It doesn't feel like that when you're walking through it. You start to see glimmers of her. You start to see glimmers of who you are and who you have abandoned. And that strong woman, who you are outside of this type of relationship dynamic. But it can take some time to get there. And what I wanted to share here, and you've heard me say this before, if you've been on the podcast for a while, you've probably heard me say it somewhere, but if not, this is why I'm bringing it up again, because sometimes we need a reminder. But the big principle here that I want you to know, and I prepare women for when they come to work with me, is you need to be prepared that this is 100% on you. So many women come in and they're like, oh, he's a good father. He's going to do right by my kid. I know he will. He loves him. He just abuses me. No, that is not what happens. You will be shocked at how little they actually seem to care and have empathy for their children, especially when you're exiting and when you have left. They're not going to be the ones showing up and taking half of the burden of the child and parenting. They didn't do it in the relationship. What makes you think they're going to do it outside of the relationship? In fact, it only just gets worse, because the real motivation is they don't care to be an active, involved, emotionally present parent. They never have, and they're not going to be. And we get this idea that, once we get out of this relationship, they're going to just pick up the pace and they're really going to want to fight for that time with them, and they're going to share in the responsibilities. Some women are terrified because they don't want to give up time with their kids. There's that too. And I've talked about this before, that It's rare that it actually happens that way. They end up fighting and wanting this time with the kids, but then they flake on it, or the environment for the kids is not something that they're comfortable with, so they're not going to want to go there. There's all these different challenges that can come up. And then the reality of that relationship or that parent becomes clearer to them as they get older, because they start to see, like, okay, when I'm with mom, like, she's over here, like, taking care of literally everything that I need and walking me through things, and she's here for me. And the other parent, not so much. So they start to see clearly. So again, this is about, it's like preparing to go to war. You need to realize you have to have your own back. It's on you. They're not going to come in and start doing 50% of the load because you are separated in regards to parenting. In fact, they're going to fight you. They're going to continue to work against you. You're just going to see the same stuff. It's just going to be more clear to you because you may be having this illusion that they're such a great dad. Well, a great dad doesn't abuse their children's mother. That is a Lundy Bancroft quote that struck me right between the eyes, because we can all go there. Oh, they're so good. They're devoted to their kids, but then they're over here gaslighting their mother and treating her like shit. That is not a good father. Please, let's not be delusional. A good father shows the kids how to treat their mother. And of course, yes, that goes both ways. There should be mutual respect. But I know in these relationships, we can start becoming someone that we don't want to be because we are being treated so unfairly that we start just like, why would I be respectful to you? You're an absolute asshole to me 24/7. So I'm going to start being nasty back, right? We lose the sense of who we are. And who we really are comes back when we are away from that type of dynamic and energy. So if we are operating on this principle that it is 100% on you, it is 100% on me, we are all 100% responsible for our own lives. This is 200% more so when you're leaving one of these relationships with a parent who hasn't shown at least 50% initiative, effort, emotional labor, physical labor in the trenches doing parenting with you. Unless they've been showing that through the whole relationship, it's not going to magically appear when you leave. And I know that if you're listening to this and you resonate with what we talk about here, that you are experiencing this narcissistic, covert type of fuckery. It's hard to put your finger on. You have not had an active co-parent. It's felt like you have had a counter-parent, someone that has been actively working against you at every step, right? That's not going to change because they use the children as a way to get back at you, or they will just not show up for them in the same ways you would. So you're going to be finding yourself filling in the gaps and riding in to fix things, and they're going to cancel on you last minute. Things are going to happen and you're going to be mad. It's going to feel unfair. You're going to feel rage. You're going to feel resentment and just all kinds of things, stress included. It's stressful when you are doing it all on your own. But the truth is you are right now anyways if you're in one of these relationships. At least now when you leave, you're doing it without all of that other draining nonsense and the chaos and the feeling like you've been hit by a bus every day because of the conflict and just the dynamic of it. So if we are operating from it's 100% on you, you have to prepare to be the one for your kids. You need to make sure that you rally support. You get a really good support system. This is not, well, it can be friends and family, but it should not be primarily friends and family. I have just seen so many things happen with women, with family, friends that just are not there for them the way they thought they would be when all the chips fall. Not only that, you don't want to burn out those people, right? So this is why you need to have a supportive community, a network of women who are also doing the growth work to get empowered to not stay in victim helplessness. We need to move out of that. That is what we focus on in coaching and in my program. So you want to be in a community where you can connect with other women. You also want to be able to get coaching and accountability to keep you moving forward as you are going through the trenches. it can feel impossible to do the things that are basic to taking care of yourself in this. I recognize that and I get it. However, if you are 100% it, then it is your responsibility to make sure you're taking care of you. You're not taking care of your children when you're not taking care of you. So many moms are focusing in on the kids, which is great. That's great. But you're going to run dry eventually, right? So in order to be that good, solid mom, you need to make sure you're taking care of you. So that is the foundation. You have to, even if you don't feel like it, you have to. And that's why a large part of the work I do with women is remembering, like, what is within your control here? Because yeah, this is a mess. It's messy. It's horrible. It's absolute agony to go through some of this, the steps of it. It is. And it's so frustrating when you don't understand why there's another adult here that is the children's parent that is doing nothing. It's absolutely infuriating. But then you get to a place where you're like, well, I surrender because this is making me ill to try and control someone who is like just really literally doesn't give a shit. Someone that never really was engaged. Why do we think that they're going to change? So that's really important. You need to bring all of your energy back to you so that you're able to pour into your children, right? And of course, if you don't have children, this still applies. It's just that what I have seen and what I know to be true is it's a different devil when you are navigating with kids involved. It just is. There's no way to sugarcoat that of course, if you don't have children, this is not going to be as messy. It's still going to hurt and be painful and hard. There may be division of assets and things you own together. Yes, those are all headaches. But unless you have young children or children still living in the home, or even if they're older, not living in the home, they're teenagers, it's just brutal. It just is for them too. There's no way to sugarcoat that. But what I do know is that they need us. And so we need to do our best to be there. So that means making sure you have that emotional support. So you are supported in that way. It's not about stuffing down all the crap you're feeling. It's about bringing it up to be healed and moved. So that's part of the work, okay? If you're ready to make a change, but you don't know where to start, or you know you need to leave your relationship, but you're really overwhelmed with all of the unknowns and fears around how it could all turn out, I've created a video for you to help you avoid the 5 biggest mistakes I see women making when they're preparing to leave a narcissistic relationship. And I've put them all together in a video where I'm sharing with you what to avoid as you're planning your exit before you actually make that move. Head to the link in the show notes, or you can head to my Instagram account bio link at Awakening Women Official and get instant access to that video. All right, back to the episode. It's also bringing focus back to the essentials, really dialing in and knowing what that is and having that strategy in place. It is making sure that you're gathering the strength. You can't do this from a place of weakness, right? What you're going to go through as you are exiting, you are not prepared for that. You're not prepared for actually how awful it is. And that's what I tell women. I'm not like, hey, this is going to be so easy. It's like a cakewalk. Like, you're just going to be so happy to get the hell out of here. No, because the steps going through it are brutal. And depending on you, how much healing work you've done prior, all of it, your history, the experience that women go through during this phase is very different. But they almost always say, I didn't know how brutal this was going to be. Or I wish I had have known, basically like what we walked through in the program. I wish I had have known this before I left, because then they're dealing with a mess of different scenarios that could have been avoided, but it's not your fault. You're not prepared for this. Therapists don't prepare you for this. There's no real solid help for how do you prepare? Like, what mistakes do you need to avoid when you are exiting one of these relationships? So it's really important to have a plan in place as you are planning to exit. You know you need to leave. You have to have a plan. And the plan includes your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health. It includes getting clarity so that you understand what you're going to be experiencing as you try to leave, the things that make you weak, wanting to go back, the things that leave you confused. You need to really hone in on what truly matters and focus your energies on that. You need a safety plan because you can't expect that it's all going to go smooth. In fact, expect that it won't. I want every woman to have a plan for safety and to keep themselves and their children safe. That is key. You need to gather the strength and build that foundation now and have that plan going forward. You have to be really careful who you talk to and who you confide in during this process, and really get to know different people in your lives and what they can and cannot do for you. Can't stress that enough. We have to be able to get the supports that we need and develop a plan. And I don't want you to make some easily avoidable mistakes. Doesn't mean that they're easy solutions, but they're things you can avoid by taking some key steps to make sure that you have a solid plan. Like, this is really important. This whole thing, just leave, walk away from toxic, all this. Yeah, that's great. Yes, we definitely want to do that. But then it's like, how? Here's my list of things that I don't see. How? And that is what my coaching and program shows you, is the way how, the way through. I show you the how. And there's no timeline. This is about your own process, but it is a hell of a lot quicker than sitting there doing nothing and just going to therapy and complaining to your friends and feeling like shit and feeling like your whole life is falling apart. You know, this offers a way through. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, you might not see that light. And what I want for you is that you can see that light and come through the other side. So that's what I want to share with you today. This was inspired by a couple of clients at the moment and what they're going through as they're exiting the very first few stages of exiting. It's a really, really difficult phase. You're coming out of survival mode and you're actually having to move. And once you start taking those steps, it's kind of like this force takes over, and you need to be prepared for what is to come, because preparation is power. Doesn't mean you're not going to end up with things you're not prepared for, but I want you to be at least as prepared as you can be for it and be able to actually get out of the relationship with a foundation in place to catch you on the other side. All right, take care. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this show and it has served you and helped you on your journey, please take a moment right now and leave a rating and review in iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like more daily content, videos, and inspiration, come on over and join me at Awakening Women Support Official over on Instagram, where we can connect and you can continue your transformation and growth journey. And I'll see you online. Take